I had one of the craziest dreams last night. I was just hanging out with some friends and something, I can't recall exactly what it was, happened and ended up turning into a fight. I've never been involved in an actual fight, so it feels weird that I had this one in my dream. What matters is that right after the fight, someone called the police and they arrived quickly and arrested me for fighting. When one officer was taking me away, I panicked a little, not because of being arrested, but because I thought I was going to get deported. This dream was full of heavy emotions. Anger was the first to show up since I was so pissed at one of my friends, which led to the fight and even bleeding. It was pretty intense. Then came frustration and desperation. I did not want to get deported at all. It was scary. But the officer then told me I wasn't being deported, but I was supposed to go to trial in front of a judge to determine the consequences of the fight. I remember being taken to this sort of classroom to be interrogated. But before the hearing even started, they gave me a blood test for some reason. The room was full of people I didn't know and some friends, all waiting for my blood test results so the hearing could begin. Finally, the blood test results arrived, and when the trial started, it was quickly canceled and the charges were dropped because they discovered I had a rare disease. The blood test showed I had a weird 1 in a million disease that doesn't affect any system, doesn't cause any symptoms, and doesn't cause any pain at all. But every person diagnosed with this disease does not make it past 30. This disease somehow shows up around age 30 and turns off the body, literally. And this meant I only had 4 years of life left. At least that's what they told me in my dream. Because of this strange disease, they dropped the charges and set me free to enjoy what time I had left. What I remember clearly is that right after the judge read my blood test results and mentioned the probabilities of not making it past 30 were more than 90%, I smiled. A big smile. And the people in the room were confused because on one hand, I was set free. But on the other hand, I was told I was going to die at age 30. But I was relieved. I honestly felt relieved. Maybe I was just too scared of getting deported. Kidding. I think I just felt like I was given a boost to achieve my goals once and for all. I had no time for excuses now. I had to make every day count. And this realization hit me hard. This disease was made up by my brain. But let's be honest for a moment. Nothing assures me that I'll live 4 more years. How can I be so sure that I'll get past 30? I could die right now. It all could end right now and right here for whatever reason. So given the fact that I felt relief by getting that blood test because I had no chance to make up excuses not to pursue my dreams and felt this fire within to push harder and make it all work in 4 years, why is it so hard to use that same mindset right now? Because again, I don't know how much time I have left. There's no way to know. Why do I make excuses then? Why do I need such a heavy diagnosis to push harder and make every day count? This dream is somehow teaching me that I don't need to get that crazy disease to stop making excuses and try as hard as I can to achieve what I want. I guess this was the closure for a not so productive week since I felt terrible for not achieving what I thought I would have by this time of the year. I'm not even close. I let my emotions take over and stop me from trying. I let my emotions paralyze me. And that's the problem. I have to do what's required even when I don't feel like it. Or not. I really don't know what I have to do anymore. I started feeling like crap and stopped pushing forward. It was a it was a shitty week. And instead of accepting the fact that I'm not good enough but need to keep trying and pushing forward to actually get better and eventually be good at the thing, I surrendered to my feelings and stopped working. And I honestly don't feel guilty towards myself, which maybe means that I needed that kind of rest. I don't know. But this episode is just a reminder to keep pushing and trying because this is what hard feels like. And I knew from the beginning that it was not going to be easy at all. This applies to everything. And I'm talking about my community on school right now because it's not working as I thought it would. But that's okay. It just means that it's not good enough. If it were, it would work. So I need to get better. That's always the conclusion. I just need to get better. There's one thing that is working though, even in this shitty week, because I feel more and more proud of my fitness. The body I'm building is what I have always wanted. It has been my biggest dream ever, besides being a pro soccer player, maybe. But at least I somehow cracked the code to get the body of my dreams. And that is something I feel confused about because working out has been a shitty path as well. It was not until this year, around April, that I started to feel good about my body and actually enjoy the process. Before that, it felt like my community on school. A lot of work and shitty outcomes. More than 2 years full of injuries and setbacks with no progress whatsoever. Now I don't even try and keep losing fat and building muscle and becoming stronger than ever. And this makes me feel so proud because it was not easy. And I did the math a couple of days ago. I already knew I was down 25 plus pounds since starting my cut this January, but I didn't know it was exactly 28 pounds, and 23 of those were fat alone. This means I made it work. After more than 2 years of trying to get it right, it clicked and it worked. And I look great and I love what I see in the mirror. But again, it didn't happen in a matter of months, but years. And somehow I expect my community on school to work as soon as possible. But I don't understand that it's something I've never done. Just like training. How can I expect to be good at something if I haven't done it? If I don't have the experience? By trying, I become better because by trying and failing, I find out those variables that don't work and avoid them. Because it's not about finding what works, but instead finding what does not work and doing all but that to get the outcome I want. Meaning, I just need reps, more and more reps to get better and make it work. I don't recall if I've talked about this other dream on this podcast, but the one I talked about earlier was the second one I've had about my mortality. I wanted to connect them and see if there's something worth mentioning. I had a dream a couple of months ago about dying, actually dying. I was back in Guatemala with my dad, and we were driving somewhere when we got to this red light. And I joked with my dad about getting robbed at the light, which is a common thing to happen over there. Right after saying that, this guy with a gun pulled up next to me, asking nicely to hand him my belongings. Notice the sarcasm. He was pointing at me and yelling like they usually do. But me, being used to it, did not get scared and just told my dad to buckle up, and I floored it to escape. But right after trying to escape, not to give this guy my phone, of course, I heard an explosive and big noise. And then I felt something hit me in the cervical spine. I got shot, and it felt cold but didn't hurt. And I remember turning my head, looking at my dad in the eye, and saying, "It's over, viejito. They shot me," while grabbing his leg and feeling how my eyes were slowly closing. And then I felt how my body shut down, and I literally died in my dream. It didn't even wake me up after the shot. I started to fade away, and when I passed, it was all nothing. I won't say it was somewhere because it was just nothing. I felt the biggest relief and peace I have never felt before. I ended up feeling so good in this state. It wasn't a room, not a place, not an actual space, but nothing. It was perfect vacuum. This empty space, let's say, full of nothing. And it felt awesome. I would say I spent a good 10 seconds there, and then I woke up. This dream and the dream I had yesterday have one thing in common besides me dying. I don't fear death. And it feels weird, I guess, but relieving because death is so normal and common. But for some reason, it's such a taboo. I haven't talked about death with many people because I guess it's normal to feel uncomfortable about it. But it's the only variable in life that we can be sure 100% will happen, no matter who you are or how much money you have. Death is the only certain thing in life. And I don't fear it, but embrace it as a fundamental part of life. I think death is life, life is death. They are both components of the same equation. And I think feeling at peace with death can help one live more fully, enjoy more what we have now, and embrace life. Make every day count because people who died yesterday had plans for today. People who died today had plans for next week. Nothing is more certain than death. Accepting and embracing that it's getting closer every day that passes might help not take any day for granted because it will end. Sooner or later, it will end. And I'd rather make it count today. Yo soy Bruno, and I'll see you in the next one.